building a better Bay Area. Moving forward, finding solutions. This is ABC7 News.
Hi there, I'm Kristen Z. You're watching Getting Answers live on ABC7. We're asking experts your questions every day at 3 to get answers for you in real time. Today, a brand new mural in San Francisco will connect you with our planet just in time for Earth Day this weekend. ABC7 has partnered with Nat Geo Planet Possible to bring you a unique public art project. Also, ABC7's media partner, the San Francisco Standard, is always breaking new ground. Today, it launched a new comedy news show. Just what is Hella News? Hella News, that is the name. One of the co-anchors of the program will be joining us. But first, as the Justice Department now works to get the CDC air travel and transit mask mandate reinstated, people are asking, does one-way masking work? Meantime, there's also new word on vaccines for kids under 5 and a more effective combo booster in the works possibly for this fall. So joining us to discuss the latest COVID developments is ABC7 special correspondent, Dr. Alok Patel. Extra special because it's a big week for you.
It is.
Patel family.
It is a big week. I cannot believe baby girl Laura is 1 year old today. It's crazy.
And you're here with us to share COVID news.
Just quickly to be here, you know, her agent actually said there was a conflict of interest with her nap schedule.
Because we would have wanted her. I mean, more than
she
you.
Was,
I mean,
she was on camera when she was 60 hours old.
I know.
And now it's been a year.
Yeah, she's grown up here. You know, practically. So happy birthday to dear Laura.
Thank
We're
you. That's
glad
her.
You're here.
That's her in her new ride. Crushing it this morning with the tassels to celebrate her big anniversary around the sun.
Styling there with Mama. All right, we could watch this all day. Seriously, the ratings would be better as well. But there is actually very important COVID news to get to, and I know you prepared one round of 2 truths and a lie for us. Right?
I have to. It's tradition.
It's tradition.
We should call this like Hella 2 Truths and a Lie.
Okay.
Give it a cool name off that.
Yeah.
Audience knows how this goes.
I'm going to hella win today.
Which one of these is not true? Everyone knows how to play. Is it A, Moderna's upgraded booster is bivalent and targets both the Beta and Omicron strain? Or is it B, the FDA's advisory committee is planning on meeting in June to discuss a vaccine for kids under 5? Or is it C, the COVID Omicron subvariant BA.2121 now accounts for about 20% of new infections in the United States? Which one of these is hella wrong?
All right. We can't stop saying that word now. All right. I'm going to ask our viewers on Facebook Live to supply their answers to help me out a little bit. I am going to rule out B as the lie because I think they are having that meeting in June. And I think 20% is about right for the new subvariant. So I am going to say A is the lie. And I'll let you explain why, but I think it's not Beta and Omicron. It's a combo of something else. Final answer.
Cannot be stopped.
Thank you.
A,
Boom.
in fact, is the lie.
Boom.
You know, this bivalent, meaning it has 2 strains it's targeting, is Beta and the ancestral strain, the older strain, SARS-CoV-2. What Moderna actually said was like, hey, there's some mutations in Beta that are similar to Omicron, and this booster shows effectivity against Omicron and Delta. But obviously people are asking, well, what about an Omicron specific booster, which is currently in trials right now? We'll want to see more data, but it's nice to know, Kristen, that at least there's research being poured into different types of vaccines, different targeting, because we want those clinical trials to start now if we're going to potentially need them in fall.
Okay.
And you know what? We know that B is in fact true, and a lot of parents out there with kids under the age of 5 are like, come on, right now. June can't get here fast enough. And C just tells us that there's variants out there. So far, this subvariant does not look to be more virulent, but there's an estimate that it's about 30% more transmissible than BA2.
All right, that's something to keep in mind. By the way, we do have a few viewer responses. Ooh, I'm the only one who got it right.
Whoa!
I'm going to pat myself on the back, okay, just because I need it. But I do wonder, though, if, you know, the conversation now is developing that combo booster for the fall. Should that deter people from getting it now if they're in that eligible age group for a second booster, or should they go ahead and just get it?
They should get it right now because right now we know that the data against the variants we're looking at right now in terms of the safety, the protection, the durability is great. Even if you just got the first 2 shots, you didn't get a booster, which we don't recommend, you still have great protection against severe illness. This is all about what's going to potentially happen in fall. Is this going to be like influenza where we're going to need another vaccine? We just don't know.
Okay. Something we do know is that, boy, transit agencies, they're just pulling their hair out right right now because, okay, the Bay Area ones have all switched to mask optional following the federal court ruling on Monday that said the CDC had no authority to require masks for travel. The Biden administration doesn't take action for 2 days, kind of sits on this. Meanwhile, everybody makes announcements, takes out their mask. It doesn't ask for an emergency injunction and finally decides yesterday to appeal this. Look, it is a mess. That is true. We all know that. But the question is, what is the impact?
It is a mess, is actually putting it lightly. I think there's multiple impacts right now, Kristen. The first impact is not necessarily that people think this is going to cause some rip-roaring outbreak. That's definitely a potential. But we really wanted to see 2 more weeks of data with BA2 becoming a dominant strain, more transmissible, and looking to see what is it actually going to do in terms of hospitalizations, which may lag the rise in cases. It may be nothing. That's why the mandates could have been lifted on May 3rd. But I think one bigger underlying issue at stake right now is what is the CDC's true authority in terms of making these mandates? Is there a legal precedent for that, or did this one judge in one day all of a sudden sow so much mistrust in the future? And I think that has to be addressed, in not only in terms of future outbreaks in this pandemic, but in future pandemics as well. This judge was citing something from 1944 and saying the CDC overstepped its authority. That has to be discussed. Otherwise, we are going to be in a tricky place when the CDC has to put their foot down inevitably in the future.
Right, because that's what the case was centered on. It wasn't, do we need the mask mandate anymore? It's saying the CDC actually doesn't have the authority. So what if we have a future pandemic?
This was a legal case and not one that was based in data, simply put.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see how they work that out. But really, I think when you do bring it back, if it happens, let's say they win, right, the Biden administration, they bring it back, do you think people will comply after having not worn the mask for a while?
I don't. I'm just going to be completely blunt. So if you look at the recent poll that came out, 56% of Americans said that they do agree that the mandate should be in place. I think a large majority of people who do feel that they want the protection, they're high risk, they have kids under the age of 5, will be wearing masks. I don't agree with the fact that this has become a choose your own adventure, like those old school books, which it feels like it is for so many millions of Americans. But if the mandates come back, I think we're going to see the same type of uproar that we saw throughout the pandemic. This is why that mixed messaging and the game of Pong with mandates has been so detrimental.
Okay, speaking of mixed messaging, we got to talk about this. I've been thinking about this all day because the Homeland Security Department today extended the vaccine requirement for international travelers arriving by land and ferry, right? But you don't need a negative test. Meantime, the CDC still requires air travelers, whether they're U.S. or foreign nationals, to show a negative test taken within a day of flying, but no vax needed. So it's kind of the opposite. So what is the U.S. goal here? Like, what are we trying to prevent or do?
I mean, I literally got lost when you were just saying that right now. And I've read this now like 3 times because it doesn't make a lot of sense. And I agree with you. It's like we need to clearly define what we're going after right now. And you and I were talking about this. Is it the case number, or is it the fact that we want to prevent severe hospitalizations and illnesses? Because a vaccine requirement versus a negative test are essentially going after 2 separate goals. Now, one thing that is certain is that not everywhere in the world has access to the highest quality vaccines, which is unfortunate. And so I do understand the heightened protection with international travelers and wanting, that proof of a negative test. But does that all of a sudden differ if you're coming in on land? And apparently it does.
I don't understand. I don't understand why, as an American citizen, let's say I fly to Mexico, right? Let's say I'm positive now, but I don't know. I go to Mexico, and 5 days later, when I want to come back, I'm testing positive, and now I can't come back into the U.S., right? I have to wait it out in Mexico. Yet we have a lot of transmission here that other policies seems to suggest cases themselves are fine, as long as you're not getting really sick.
Just about to say, if you're unvaccinated and you're in a state and you're part of a super spreader event, and you are symptomatic on the airplane and then land in California, can you just walk off the plane and be positive? You probably can.
You can.
You can. But if you can't do that. So I think we need to actually take a step back and say, now moving forward, we're not going to get to COVID zero. It's not realistic. We see the tragic situation in Shanghai. That is not something that's sustainable. We got to get to a place where we are very clearly defining what our goal is.
Hopefully everything we do becomes kind of aligned very, very soon.
And it speaks towards everyone out there. Everyone out there with different levels of resources and underlying health issues, so it feels equitable.
True. All right, well, given the current situation, some people are saying they don't feel safe flying right now, but let's explore that a little bit more, right? Aside from the occasional bullying that we are now starting to see, some mask wearers, on a flight getting yelled at because they're wearing masks, but are they actually still protected from catching COVID if they wore a good mask through that whole flight?
They are. They
Okay.
are. So even,
Okay,
you know,
that's good
we've looked at modeling.
Yeah.
So specific modeling that has looked at the situation. If we were a few feet apart and you were infected with COVID and you were not wearing a mask, which you never would be, and we were having a conversation.
Yeah.
If I'm wearing a well-fitted N95, we would have to speak for over an hour, according to the model, for me to get an infective dose.
Okay.
If I'm wearing an ill-fitting N95, it's going to go a little bit below an hour. A surgical mask, we're about 30 to 40 minutes. Nothing at all, about 10 minutes. Now, this is just one model. But Kristen, like the proof of anecdote, physicians for decades have been wearing masks with a patient who is not wearing a mask, who may have an aerosolized virus like tuberculosis. We don't catch it. The tricky thing for people out there is not everyone can wear a well-fitting N95. Not everyone is fit tested. So the best advice for people is wear as many layers as you can. Wear something like a K95, a KF94, and understand your individual risk and the risk of those people around you, what community transmission looks like, and what your destination looks like as well.
Okay. Before we let you go and get back to birthday party planning, I know that's what you're excited about. Like the CDC also said today that children are just getting less vaccines, period, now. Like, we're talking about other childhood vaccines that have been around forever that we all give to our kids without thinking about it. That is down.
It is.
Is that concerning to you?
It's very concerning. This is not a new finding either. We saw this happen in 2020. We saw this happen in 2021. What this is basically looking at is we need a 95% vaccination rate for certain viruses like measles in order to maintain that herd immunity. We saw in 2015, you drop below that, you can cause outbreaks. We've gone below that in some parts of the country. This is not only a function of people not being able to go to their primary care doctors during the shutdown. There was thousands of kids who didn't go to kindergarten. Kristen, I'm also worried that there's a little bit of renewed mistrust against vaccines as well.
Yeah.
So I think this is something we have to pay attention to. The last thing we want to see is a resurgence of these horrific childhood viruses. You know, when I tell people out there, I've seen one case of tetanus, I've never seen diphtheria, I've never seen polio, I barely see whooping cough and all these diseases, it's because vaccines work.
Yep. All right, Dr. Alok Patel, thank you so much for coming in. Always great talking with you, especially when you got so much to do. Happy birthday, Alora.
I'll tell you, Alora, that Auntie Kristen said that.
All right, happy birthday. Give her a kiss for me. All right, coming up next, we'll be right back with a lot more for you. Don't go away. All right, everybody. Shot. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Today, our media partner, the San Francisco Standard, launched a fresh and funny way to get your local news. It's called Hella News, and it's a weekly comedy program to keep you both entertained and, more importantly, informed.
Spring is in the air, and new census data released last month shows some fascinating trends on where people live in San Francisco.
Want to know where all the hot babes and sugar daddies live? Or how about which one of your neighbors makes the most money?
Yeah, we'll touch on all of that in this week's episode of Hella News.
Hella News is co-hosted by Josh Kane and Megan Mitchell. The first episode has dropped on sfstandard.com and all of the Standard social media platforms. Joining us to tell us all about this interesting new endeavor, Josh Kane. Hey, Josh, you look like you're having too much fun there.
I am having too much fun. How are you, Kristen?
I'm doing great. Tell us who came up with the idea of Hella News and what's the idea behind it?
Yeah, actually, so I joined the Standard in January, and Hella News is a concept that I came up with about 5 years ago. I was basically trying to find out how can we get people more interested in local issues. And we saw shows like The Daily Show, Last Week Tonight, even Saturday Night Live's Weekend Update. People are really well informed on national issues, especially politics, through these shows. And we thought, well, maybe if we make it a little bit more fun, someone who won't read a really long story might be interested in local issues through this kind of comedy news project.
Got it. Yeah, it's a new way to try to engage people in local news. And you're right, it does have a bit of a Saturday Night Live or a daily news flavor to it. Check it out, folks.
Yeah.
Here's another clip.
The Standard broke down the neighborhood data, and we thought it'd be fun to share a few observations.
For example, we all like kids, right? The zip codes with the youngest residents in San Francisco are found in the South of Market area, the Mission, the Marina, the Presidio, and the Haight.
Yeah, and the median age gets higher in western zip codes like the Sunset and West Portal, where residents are, people who identify as boomer. Megan, any idea how much those houses cost in those neighborhoods?
Yeah, let's change the subject.
Yeah, let's do that.
Hey, what's wrong with boomers? Oh, and you don't care.
Nothing
like
wrong
kids.
with boomers.
Okay.
I do like kids.
Okay.
You know, sometimes you just got to have fun with it just to make sure that we're keeping people on their toes. But I love kids.
I see. Okay, that's good. I'm glad you clarified that. Hey, are you and Megan permanent co-hosts, or is it going to be rotating different reporters?
As of right now, Megan and I will both be hosting the show, but we're actually pretty excited about bringing on some guest hosts, and there are going to be some personalities across the Bay Area. Might even have a few comedians that people are a little bit more familiar with, household names. So we're looking to get as many talented people on the show to really just make a greater interest in the events that really impact our daily lives. These local decisions actually are very much more ingrained in what we go through every single day than what's happening at the White House or Congress or the state legislature. So anything we can do to get people to engage with the news, that's what we're going to do.
Talk about the type of topics that are appropriate, you think, for this kind of presentation or lend themselves most to it, right? Obviously, you touched on some demographic stuff there. What else?
Yeah, so we're going to be looking in upcoming episodes at the recall of District Attorney Chesa Boudin here in San Francisco. We also took a look at JFK Drive, which has been a very controversial issue about keeping it car-free during the pandemic and whether or not that is in the best interest of the city. But there's really no topic that's off limits. We're not going to ever, make fun of people who are having a hard time. The key about humor is always punch above your own weight. And so that's what we're going to focus on.
Definitely. There was something in today's episode, too, about where to find love, right? Whether you're looking for men or women, there are different pockets of San Francisco to go to, right?
This is true, yes. There's an imbalance of men versus women depending on the neighborhood. We kind of look at that. San Francisco is a city of a lot of young adults and professionals, and online dating is a thing that's quite popular in the Bay Area, so we're not scared to go there once in a while.
Excellent. It was about 2.5 minutes, but I learned a lot in that short little segment, and I laughed, too. Quickly, we got to go, but do you test the jokes out on your colleagues?
I test them out on everybody. I think they're tired of me around here. It's constantly reworking the scripts.
Okay, that's how you know you're doing something right. Josh Kane, thank you so very much. Hella News. Check it out, folks. Take care. We have links to the San Francisco Standard's other original reporting on our website, abc7news.com. To watch more ABC7 segments featuring the San Francisco Standard's city-focused journalism, check out our ABC7 Bay Area streaming TV app. All right, coming up next, celebrating Earth Month with a brand new mural in San Francisco. It was all made possible through a partnership with National Geographic and ABC7. We'll be right back. Welcome back. April is Earth Month. To celebrate, National Geographic has partnered with ABC-owned stations, including ABC7, to celebrate in a whole new way through public art inspired by some of National Geographic's majestic photos. The result, a brand new mural just completed in San Francisco by local artist Alice Lee. It's part of a Nat Geo Planet Possible public art project. Today we talked with Ashley Thomas, director of the National Geographic Digital Archive. Ashley, ABC7 is super excited to be your partner in bringing these lovely murals that are based on your amazing photographs to a lot of America's cities. And there is a new one in San Francisco. Folks, it's part of the Nat Geo Planet Possible public art project. So, Ashley, tell us about the project. What is the idea?
So we're working with all of the ABC local channels in Chicago, in Philadelphia, in San Francisco, and New York to bring the natural environment inspired by the archive of National Geographic photography to these urban spaces.
I love it because you have these amazing photos that make you love Mother Earth, right? And really respect it and connect us to it. So tell us about the theme in San Francisco, because I know you have a different theme in each city.
Indeed. So we worked with Alice Lee, who is a local artist in San Francisco, and San Francisco, not surprisingly, has the ocean theme. And we worked with her to draw inspiration from George Grawl's image of a turtle underwater.
Folks can see these pictures, both the photograph that it was based on and also Alice's interpretation. It's just glorious, and it just really makes me so happy looking at it. By the way, it's a hate and divisadero. Doesn't it have that effect on you? It just makes you happy, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, I used to live in San Francisco, and it's so great to see it come to life in these urban spaces and be able to bring nature to the places where it might not be available to everyone. And so it's really great to see.
Can you tell us or share a couple of the other ones that you really love? I know there's so many, the murals in some of the other cities, like maybe New York or Chicago.
Yeah, we just launched Chicago with a very great street artist, and it was focusing on forestry and a sapling in the larger forest, and it really brought to life how we all need to be connected to the natural world.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if you feel like the message or this outreach, if you will, through art is more important than ever, given the crisis that we're facing with climate change.
I mean, absolutely. More important to make sure that everyone feels connected and feels a personal connection to all of the impacts that are happening around the world.
Do you think this project, I'm sure you do, fits into the mission of Nat Geo? Maybe in what ways?
We at National Geographic have always inspired people to care about the planet through storytelling. And this is one extension there to be able to bring it to urban spaces, bring nature in, and be able to extend the storytelling possibilities with these murals.
And we don't think about this very often, maybe because we're in the Bay Area and there's so much great nature around us, but it's not always accessible to everyone, especially in an urban environment, right? This exposure to all the things that are in our world.
Yeah, that's right. This is really to be able to bring nature in, be able to raise awareness, and also bring nature and visuals, storytelling about nature and why it's so important to the urban environments and the people that don't always have exposure to it.
And the result is wonderful. The one at San Francisco, again, if I haven't mentioned it before, is a hate and divisadero. If you walk by, definitely check it out. It's just been completed. Look, Ashley, what do you hope the audience, you know, you're walking by, you see that mural, you look at it, you think about it. What do you hope the takeaway is for them this Earth Day coming up, and really every day?
I think that the takeaway is to, realize that there's a larger world around you, and that everything is making way for your life, the way that you're living it today, and just appreciate everything, and to do the best that you can to preserve it.
Well, walking by and seeing the murals certainly helps you appreciate our world more. Ashley Thomas, thank you so very much for your time. Great talking with you and learning more about the project.
Thanks so much.
And we'll share a behind-the-scenes look at Alice's process and more about this Nat Geo Planet Possible public art project tomorrow during ABC7 News at 4. Also tomorrow's special note here at 3 o'clock, instead of getting answers, we will be airing the Earth Month special, Branching Out. ABC News Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z is embarking on an eco-friendly road trip across America to discover the challenges facing our forests, farms, and oceans. You don't want to miss that. We'll be right back. That's just not that smart. Thank you so much for joining us today on this interactive show, Getting Answers. We'll be here every weekday at 3 o'clock on air and on live stream answering your questions, except tomorrow, remember, when we have the Ginger Z special. World News Tonight with David Muir is coming up next, and I will see you back here at 4 o'clock. Bye-bye.